Yes, there's the start. The webinar is now live. Hooray!
Okay.
Okay. All right. People are popping in. It looks like there's no waiting room, so they're just coming on in, which is great.
So we'll give them a few minutes and
yeah. In this one, for those of you who are arriving, welcome. And just as a reminder that this is another Zoom that's in a webinar basis. So if you have a question, I will be checking the Q&A bucket over here, and Holly and Marlene and I will be looking at that in case you want to ask everything. But for the most part, I think the sheriff is bringing his own answers from your pre-asked questions. But feel free to chat us if you are having trouble.
so let us know when we should start, Amber. Correct.
You see the same thing that I see, so whenever you guys feel like it's ready to go.
Oh, okay. Well, how many?
We have 34 participants, and so I think the honor being on time, I think we can go ahead, and
Yeah.
especially since it's being recorded. So we want to be sensitive to the sheriff and the captain's time.
Yeah. I'd like to start by thanking Sheriff Bolanos and Captain Christina to join our KMA speaker series. There's been a lot of frustration and concern on the mountain, and I feel honored that he would do this for us this evening. I'm going to let him take over and introduce himself and hopefully answer all of our questions and concerns and give us some ideas on going forward, what we can do to help with law enforcement and help improve the situation we have here.
Great. Well, Holly, thank you very much for the invitation and for inviting myself and Captain Corpus to come and speak to the Kings Mountain Association tonight. It really is a pleasure. So as Holly said, my name is Carlos Bolanos, and I'm the Sheriff of San Mateo County. I was elected in 2018, and I am in my first term. Prior to being elected, I was appointed as sheriff in 2016 and served those 2 years until the election. And prior to that, I was the undersheriff of San Mateo County, where I was responsible for the day-to-day operation of the sheriff's office. And then before I joined the sheriff's office, I had a long career in local law enforcement, including my 12 years prior to coming to the sheriff's office, working as the Redwood City police chief. Before that, I was a captain in Salinas, and I started my career in Palo Alto, serving there for 12 years, starting at, of course, the rank of officer and working up to lieutenant. So been doing this job. It's pretty much the only job I've really had since being a young adult. Law enforcement, something I'm very proud of, and I'm very proud to serve as the sheriff of San Mateo County. Of course, I live here with my family, and I raised my kids here, and I have a personal stake in the safety of this county. And why don't I stop for a few minutes and let Captain Corpus let us know something about herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Corpus, and I'm a captain, and I oversee Headquarters Patrol, which encompasses Woodside, the town of Woodside, the town of Portola Valley, the North Fair Oaks area, the lakes, and unincorporated areas of Menlo Park and unincorporated areas of Belmont. So I'm very happy to be here tonight. I have been with the sheriff's office for 19 years. I started out as a correctional officer and worked my way up. My current assignment, I've been assigned to headquarters for almost 4 years. And I'm always looking at different ways to serve the community and really bridge that gap and strengthen the relationships between ourselves and the community. And I know that, the sheriff is, that is really what one of, what he wants us to do is be out in the community and be accessible. So I'm happy to be here tonight, and I'm fortunate to live in San Mateo County. I have 2 children, and yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Christina. So why don't we start off with, the main issue that I hear about in regards to, the Kings Mountain Association area and 35, and that is traffic. I think, as everybody knows, in regards to Skyline, the California Highway Patrol has primary traffic responsibility for all of the unincorporated areas, and including that state route. So, but you're not alone in regards to having to rely only on the California Highway Patrol, because we are good partners with them, and we will also go out there and make sure that we're enforcing traffic, in a very vigorous manner on that stretch of road. We recognize that the Highway Patrol can't be everywhere. I believe they do an outstanding job, and I know that Captain Corpus spoke to CHP Captain Cabot, and he offered to come and speak at your next meeting. So if you're looking for somebody, please feel free to save your real tough questions for Captain Cabot of the Highway Patrol. All kidding aside, I recognize that, traffic and traffic safety is important to all of us as residents, and of course, all of you. And I just want you to know that although it is Highway Patrol responsibility, the Sheriff's Office is not going to leave you alone. We consider you our residents because you are, and we will work with them, but we'll also work without them if you need us. And Captain Corpus was kind enough to pull together some statistics in regards to our traffic enforcement efforts. I know she was going to try to get something from the Highway Patrol, but she indicated she might have difficulty getting it from them. But Captain Corpus, would you talk a little bit about our traffic enforcement strategy in that area?
Sure. So the type of complaints that we hear are especially when it's a beautiful area, the scenic area, and especially when the weather is beautiful out, the traffic tends to rise. So we do get a lot of outsiders that come in and use 84 and then use Kings Mountain Road and Skyline to frequent Alice's. And we have motorcycles, cyclists, motor vehicles that frequent that road. And so, we know that there's some parking issues that exist. We know that there's some speeding issues, specifically at night, which we've had some dedicated ongoing enforcement that we've conducted. We've given sites out for speed contests, and for speeding, we really tried to do a lot of education, but when people are speeding at a high rate of speed, that becomes egregious. So they do receive citations. I'm going to try and share my screen because I did prepare a report. So let me see if I can do that here. And if not, then I could send the report out to you, but you just wait one moment. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So so here is the south end. I just kind of wanted to map out the area. This is the south end of our beats. And so it's Kings Mountain, as you see, is highlighted there. And then Huddard Park, that's where the Woodside jurisdiction is. And then when you come up 84, up by Alice's at the corners, it's 100 yards south and north is what is considered to be Woodside jurisdiction. And then on Skyline, that's considered to be the unincorporated area, which we patrol. And we have up to four deputies patrolling that area. So on a given night and day. So the way that our schedules work is we have 12-hour shifts. And so during the day shift, you'll have 2 to 4 deputies patrolling that area, and then in the evening time as well. So in the evening time, we've had some dedicated enforcement because we have had some speed contests going on Skyline. And the loud noises that you could hear from the mufflers and everything, especially since when it's so calm at night, and it's the canyon, you could hear everything. So we are aware of that. We do work with the CHP, but when they're not available, we continue with our efforts. So you can see here that these are the vehicle code sections, and these are the type of vehicle codes that and crimes that we have in this specific area from the year. So I did 1 year back, a calendar year, 2020. So if you can see, we've had, 2 DUI turnovers, informational cases, but, I will touch on, there was a question about the public waste, so I'll touch on that later. But I kind of wanted you to see the type of cases that we've taken reports for in that area. And then this is the coastal side. So this is more north of Skyline. And if you could see, we did have a homicide. It was actually didn't occur in that area. It was the suspects took the body there and dumped it there. But you can see the other types of cases that we have. And then if you look at coroner's cases, those are people that have passed of natural causes, and the coroner took the body for a reason or another. So the calls for service that we've had in the Kings Mountain area, so it goes back to January 1st to December 31st of 2020. So if you can see, they're all listed out. Passing checks is when there's some areas of concern where we've had, speed contests, or there's, maybe an event or something going on. So we conduct passing checks in that area. And then if you scroll down, you'll see calls that we've had 911 calls on, and reckless driving. You can see that traffic stops, there's 30 of them that we conducted in that area. So the total calls for service were 153 for that area. And then I wanted to go down and share the citations with you. So as you can see here, the type of citations that, so we did bicyclists versus bicycle violations versus vehicle violations. So you could see that we've obviously given more vehicle violations than bicyclists. And then the misdemeanor and infractions. So an infraction is basically it's a citation, and a misdemeanor is obviously something like a reckless driving or like a speed contest. So that's what those capture there. So the citations by violation are listed here. So you can see that, we have 20, let's see, let me try to grab something here. So like failure to obey a signal, there's 8 of them there. And then we've had, if we stop somebody and then they have some drug paraphernalia or something, you can see that listed up on the top there. And then the citations by violation again. So you can see that failure to stop at a stop sign, there's 35 of them. Going over the basic speed law, 23. So you can kind of get an idea of the types of violations that we've given and what the main issues that we've encountered in the area. And then I also did it by where the person's driver's license was registered to. So their home residence. So you can look and see that in the highest amount of, I think, was from Redwood City, but they're all over the place. So it's not just local residents, it's people that come from the outside as well. And I can email you this document so you can reference it. But So does anyone have any questions in regards to this report? And then I could go into specifics about some of the questions that that we have to answer.
Christina, I don't think they can ask you questions.
If there was something in the, can you hear me, Christina?
Yes.
There was something that came in the Q&A that was a follow-up, and that was asking if extreme noise can be cited.
So we can, when it's comes from a vehicle, if it comes from a residence or a group, we'll ask them, we'll give them the opportunity to turn the noise down or to disperse. But we have given quite a few citations for modified mufflers. And that is when, you know, especially at night when they're racing or during the day and you can hear echo. So those are the citations that we have given. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the question was in reference to loud noise and being able to be heard. I do also just want to reiterate that people were asked to send questions in advance. And so we appreciate that if there's a question related to what was, but just so people know, if they're sending in questions now, many of those topics were already sent in by your neighbors and will be asked. So, and then the other question, and then Holly, I'm not sure if you can see the Q&A or not. If you can, I'll let you come back to this. Was somebody wanted to know if those numbers that you reported are high or low for an entire year?
They're on the rather, they're on the lower end. If I did a comparison, say maybe to the North Fair Oaks area, but you know, it's just because of where it's located and then the makeup of the community as well. So in different areas, we have different community needs. So, you know, for this community, traffic is one of the main issues where in North Fair Oaks, it may be, you know, maybe domestic violence. So when I look at the types of calls and I look at the issues, the main issue here is is the traffic. So it really affects the residents, and especially during the weekends and when the weather is calls for it. Yeah, when the weather is beautiful up.
And the 4 officers that you mentioned who patrol the area, are they dedicated solely to Kings Mountain during that time, or are they also patrolling other areas?
They're also patrolling other areas, but they do, that is a part of their beat. So I do ask them when during their shift that they do patrol that area. So as I stated, we do have ongoing traffic enforcement, especially in the evening time, when, because of the issues that we've had, especially with the racing of the vehicles. So we continue those efforts. And on the weekends, we also continue the efforts because we do see a higher influx of vehicles and motorcycles frequenting the area.
I'll let Holly get back to the questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only thing I'd like to add to Captain Corpus's information is one of the meeting attendees asked whether those numbers are low or high. They're on the low side, but recognize that they only reflect Sheriff's Office citations. So we don't have the number of citations that the agency primarily responsible for law enforcement has issued out there. And I know that especially during the summer, we work a number of joint operations with the Highway Patrol, you know, to address the public safety issues on that roadway.
So while we're on the topic of Skyline, I don't know if you want to address it later on or now, but as far as like cars parking over into the lane, basically, because there's not enough room in the open space parking lot, or they just think there's a trail someplace, so they are going to pull off on the side of the road and part of their car is still in the lane?
Yes, I'll answer that, Sheriff. So we have had we have community service officers that will assist our deputies when we do have those incidents. So on the weekends, we are sending a CSO to check the vehicles to ensure that they are not impeding the roadway. And if they are, then they are cited. So there is a white line, excuse me, and if their tires are over that line, they will be cited. Absolutely. And we continue those efforts because, you know, on a given Saturday, we have maybe 300 cars parked all along Skyline Road because, you know, they're going to Alice's, or they're going, you know, they're people that are gathering there. And I know that there was a question about people gathering, and we've been working with the owners of Alice's to try and find a more effective way so people aren't gathering, and you know, we are following the guidelines of COVID.
Thank you. Do you want me just to ask a couple of the other questions that came in? They're sort of different topics, or do you want to continue with?
I can continue, and that if there's a question, there's still a question that's out there, you can feel free to ask me. Absolutely.
Okay.
So I did, so we are looking at doing some more enforcement focused with the CHP, and, you know, looking at putting a speed box on Skyline. So that will give us some more defined data in regards to vehicles that are speeding. So that's something that we're working on currently. And then I wanted to just talk about the roadways on Kings Mountain. So we have the roadways are considered to be substandard width. The standard width of a roadway is 11 feet. And just because of where it's located and it's windy, it's, you know, there's no bike lanes. So we're working with the cycling community on a constant basis to bring awareness. And, you know, we put a signboard at the bottom to really just remind people that we have to try to share the roadway. So we're always looking at creative ways and to continue with the education portion, because we do get a lot of trucks that will go up and down Kings Mountain Road. And if we have tandem cyclists, it doesn't call for them to have too much of the 3-foot rule. So we're always working, having those conversations, continuing with the communication to figure out better ways to keep everybody safe. The county portion of Kings Mountain Road, the county is going to be restriping. So right now there's a single stripe, and to people that aren't from the area, it's very difficult for them to see that. So the county has agreed to do some double striping to make it more visible to the motorist, so they don't go over the line. And so they are working at that. And then the town of Woodside is actually has a project that will be coming up where they're going to create 4 turnouts for the cycling community. So if they need to go off to the side, they will have a safe place to do so. So we are working together, looking at different ways of doing that. The town of Woodside has also been working with the state. We are looking at putting a 4-way stop at the corners because that is an issue there. So we are working at that. And they have brought up a point of making a defined pedestrian walkway to cross from Mountain Terrace to go over to Alice's. So that's in the works as well. So we are aware of the issues and the dangers. So we will continue working at making it safer for everybody. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, there's a couple more here. I have one
Okay.
from Aiden. And this sort of started my whole conversation with the sheriff, in that we've had a lot of dumping issues of trash here. So his question was, you know, what you guys had to say about the trash dumping, because it seems to be ongoing. I mean, as a community, we've cleaned it up a couple times. I think we have another one scheduled for this coming weekend. So your thoughts?
Yes, so we actually identified a contractor that had been dumping. He only admitted to one dumping, but we do believe that he was responsible for at least two. He was cited. We were working with the DA's office on that, and we haven't seen him there since. There are ways. I'm going to be reaching out to the county to see if there's any way that we can put a flock camera there, which will help us identify any vehicles or any persons going to have that dumping. So the county does have programs in place in other areas. So I will be working with the county on that venture.
And I think it's important that whenever someone notices an illegal dumping, to call us, let us go out there, let us investigate. We can help get it picked up. And, many times we can find out who the offender is. And then, as Captain Corpus said, we'll make sure that there is, prosecution.
Okay. So we have another question here from Jeff Cohen. He wants to know how many citations for exhaust exceeding 95 decibels. And then also in line with that, it says the law on exhaust sound in CA is 95 decibels. Verbal tunes, which are modifications, create the loud gunshot backfire sounds that we all hear now as a result of the current turbo engine design. Right.
Let me go back and look. I believe there's about, let me just double check to make sure that I have that stat on here. In speaking with the deputies and our motor deputy, that is, that we have been citing for that because we understand the frustration and we also understand the impact that it has on the neighboring community. So if you just give me a second, I'll go back and look at my notes and I can provide that information.
Thanks, Christina. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it.
Yeah. And if it's not outlined in the report, what I can do is I can respond back tomorrow with those stats, with those exact stats, if they're not outlined in this report.
Okay, thank you. And then also along that same line of thought is what changes in enforcement are planned to deal with the altered exhaust violations? So far, what's been done is not adequate.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like on my report, the modification of exhaust systems is looks like there was 7 provided there. So citations. So it's an ongoing conversation that, I mean, I think this is great that we're having this meeting. So I can hear, what's important to the community. And I'll continue to work with our patrol deputies and our motor officers as well. So we can really tap into that and let them know that that is a point of contention that that does impact the community, and it's important, and we'll continue to make that a priority.
Okay, so here's a question from Ben Rossner. It says cameras at dumping sites would be great. The community has considered this too, but instead of us doing it, which sites are you considering placing them? And I guess I would like to add to that. Do you want to work with us on which sites we think would be the most advantageous or the most dumped at?
Yeah, thank you, Holly. I think that is the right answer. We need to hear from you where you'd like us to work on placing the cameras rather than us trying to guess where that best spot may be. As much as possible, as we try to address all these issues, we want to work together with KMA and the residents of Kings Mountain to try to address these issues as best we can. I also feel like I need to be honest and say that some of these issues will never be completely resolved, but I pledge to devote the resources necessary to work in partnership with the community to try to address them, the best we can.
Thank you. That's awesome. we can't ask for more than that. So we have another question here, an anonymous attendee. You mostly talk about the Corners area, Alice's, but Kings Mountain is mostly north of that area. I'm concerned about Prisma open space parking. Often people park in our neighbors and our private property. Also concerned about hikers walking on Highway 35 to get to open space when the speed limit is 50 miles per hour.
Well, that's a concern that we have as well. I'll work backwards. I am aware of pedestrians on 35 and a narrow roadway where people travel at a high rate of speed. You know, we can talk to the county and I'll ask Captain Corpus to have somebody take a look and see if we can, you know, put some signage. We recognize there's some space limitations out there in regards to anything we put on the roadway or near the roadway restricts the roadway and in some ways makes it less safe. But you know, I'm also concerned about people walking on 35 and you know, crossing the roadway to get to the hiking areas. In regards to the open space parking, when people are parked, when they park in your driveway, when they park in your private property, you should call us. We'll come out, we'll issue them a citation, and if they are impeding your ability to get in and out of your property, we will tow their vehicles. So, you know, we just need you to call us so we can get out there and assess the situation and try to help. Christina, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, and also if you do see hikers or you see people that are being unsafe, please just give us a call. You can always remain anonymous, and you know, just try to give us the best description as possible, and we'll send somebody out because I'd rather give somebody a warning than have an accident and you know, and have to deliver bad news to somebody's family. So definitely, it's a major concern for us, especially when we have kind of the whole mix of people that are unfamiliar with the roadway and people that are walking along the roadway and are unfamiliar. It just calls, it's very unsafe, and we want to continue to have everyone safe. So we appreciate the phone calls because we would rather go out and really address the issue while we can and provide some education around that.
Thank you. That's good. So started jumping. Did you want to take some of the questions that I emailed to you guys earlier, as far as the one from Eileen Fredrickson on maybe the mail theft? If the sheriff's office has any involvement with anything like that?
Yeah. So we did take one case for mail theft. I can look at that case to see where it's at, but we also you know, work with the postmaster as well, and our detectives. You know, we try to bring resolution to that, and you know, we want to make sure that people's identity and you know, that it's not being compromised. So definitely, you know, we want to continue to work at avoiding those type of cases. They do happen, but we will do our best to work with the community on that. And again, if you see anyone suspicious, or you notice that there's just something's out, always follow your intuition. Please give us a call so we can at least have a conversation with the person and then maybe figure out if they are from the area or what they're doing in the area.
Christina, did you say there was one report of mail theft?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. So
what that typically tells me is that, you know, we may have a problem in the area, but only one person has called us to make a report. And I would just encourage all residents to call us whenever there's a theft of any type. Let us come out and document that incident, so we can determine if there's a pattern. We can it can help us further an investigation. But please call us.
I have another anonymous attendee who wants to know, is there any plan for the top of Highway 92 and 35? Traffic comes over the hill at very high speeds while Highway 35 traffic is merging onto 92. Example, a blinking yellow light or a sign station there is it that there is merging traffic. This is a high traffic area and dangerous.
Yes, so the town of Woodside is working with the state to have a four-way stop at that intersection. And we will continue to work with the CHP on enforcement, especially during the times where we have more traffic. It tends to happen more towards the evening time when there's less traffic, when we see the speeding and we see people not being as safe. But like I said, we will continue to our efforts with the enforcement, because we are committed to not having to really providing that safety for the residents and then for the people that come and visit as well.
Christina, we have a traffic grant from the Office of Traffic Safety. Is there a way that we could use some of those resources to do some focused enforcement at 92 and 35, as well as on the Kings Mountain section of 35?
Absolutely. So we are working on setting something up in that area because we do recognize that it is an issue with traffic, with speeding. So we are working on that. We're just trying to tie down a date on the weekend, because that's when we feel kind of looking at the weather, so we can do something when we're anticipating to have more traffic in that area, but it's coming soon. And I can email the group so you will all be aware that we will be up there.
So just for clarity, are you talking about 84 and 35 or 92 and 35?
I think they said
the question was 92 and 35.
Right, but you think they meant 84?
No, they meant 92, because that's a very big challenge, especially on the weekends with everybody going to the coast.
It is.
And people detouring and merging on and off. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's a very tricky area. I'm very familiar with it. Obviously going westbound 92 is not a problem because you can't travel fast in that area, but it's the folks peeling off when they see that the traffic is stopped onto 35 that is a problem. And
Right.
We're familiar with it, and we'll be sure to keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So George Dale is asking, would the sheriff be willing to address plans on using non-sworn officers on mental health issue calls? I realize this is not a KMA specific issue.
Yeah, so, this issue came up as a result of it all started after the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis, where people were talking about, and this gentleman is not talking about this, but, people were talking about minimizing the use of armed law enforcement to address calls with dealing with mental health. So I'll give you a broad perspective, and then Captain Corpus can fill in any gaps. So we have what we call the PERT team, Psychological Emergency Response Team, which is 2 deputies who work with 2 clinicians during the day. And if there are any critical incidents involving mental illness, they are available to respond to those calls. The officers are in plain clothes, and they respond to try to assess the situation and determine not only what the individual may need at the time, but what they need from a long-term perspective. And that's where the clinicians come in, because they have access to the mental health resources. On top of that, every one of our deputy sheriffs has been trained in CIT, crisis intervention training, which is a specific specialized training in dealing with the mentally ill population. And we have recently initiated an ECIT, which is an enhanced crisis intervention training, where a smaller group of personnel who are on patrol all day and night are able to go and respond to calls and determine a plan to address things in a as low-key way as possible, hopefully in a way that doesn't involve any force, and again, try to get these individuals the resources that they need. I recognize that there is a push among many that law enforcement is should not be the first responder to these issues. But you know, in my experience, many of these cases quickly escalate, and I'm not sure that I don't feel comfortable that just sending you know, unarmed, non-sworn people to incidents that could escalate to violence quickly are safe. So I'll stop there. And Christina, anything to add from you?
Just that even when we have our new deputies coming out in our field training program, we do have PERT that comes in and talks about the program and the value of the program and the follow-up that they do when they're given a case, and the resources that we have to provide to individuals that are in crisis. So we do work with NAMI. We do work with behavioral mental health from the county. So we are always looking at different ways to enhance our response and do it in a safe manner and using de-escalation. And so we are, you know, we're constantly looking at different ways, and, you know, the sheriff's very supportive of the training that we get in the ECIT training, the enhanced training is, from the feedback that I've received from the deputies, is invaluable. So we look forward to continue with those efforts.
So a few more questions here. Actually, we have a statement from Mark Fletcher. He said, "Thank you, Sheriff Bolanos," in bold letters. We have a question from Herb. "Thank you for your service. It's an important job. There are likely," someone keeps moving this around on me, "there are likely limits to your expertise and ownership of issues. Any top recommendations for who we may want to partner with besides the sheriff's office, or how KMA can best interact with you? Are there other safety issues we need to be aware of? E.g., a while ago, there was a county-wide warning about a sexual predator, but who appears to be old and not in the immediate neighborhood. Thanks."
Yeah, so any top recommendations? Well, besides the sheriff's office, I think the Highway Patrol is an important partner with KMA, and they're an important partner of ours. And I think, I mean, I certainly recognize how critical the traffic situation is to your residents. And, you know, I will commit to ensuring that, you know, we can have our one of our traffic officers attend your meetings periodically with a Highway Patrol officer, so they can hear from you the issues that you're dealing with. You can hear from them what they're actually seeing out there. And I think establishing that relationship is good. From a general public safety perspective, you know, we are your law enforcement agency, and you can always call me directly, but you can also call Captain Corpus directly. And I assure you that we will respond to you immediately and try to get you the support that you need.
Thank you. We also have a question from Ben. Wanting to know, what number should we call?
Well, my number is 599-1664. And that's my direct line. My assistant will give me the call, and depending on what the issue is, if you want to talk to me directly, I will call you back. If it's about a particular issue that you want me to have addressed, I will immediately send that to Captain Corpus.
Yes.
Okay.
If I could give my phone number, and then also if you want to call, it's always good to have our 911 number programmed in your cell phone, as often we're out and about. But I will give you the prefix to call so you can program it so it doesn't go over to the CHP. Some carriers, if you dial 911 from your cell phone, it'll go over to the CHP office in Vallejo. So I will provide that to you as well. So my number is 363-4990. And then to program our dispatch, it's 363-4911. And that's always important. When I always advise people that they should always program where their kids go to school, where they live, where they work, the local law enforcement agencies, and program that into their phones so they have it easily accessible.
Thank you. And the only thing I'll add to that as well is if you're calling about an issue that's occurring right now where you want service, don't call me, because I won't be responding, and I'm not there. I'm in meetings or in other areas, but this is more to address larger issues that are not an urgent nature.
Okay, thank you. So what would we call the 363-4911 number for?
Something that is occurring at that time, to report a crime,
Okay,
report an issue.
okay. And so then if it turns out it's CHP versus sheriff's office, or how do we know how to differentiate, or what?
Well, you don't have to worry about that. You call that number and let the dispatcher triage the call. If it's a crime, they'll send us. If it's a traffic issue, they'll send them, and they'll let us know about it.
Okay, I think that's good information, so we all understand, what the best course of action is.
Yeah.
And if some reason if CHP is tied up, then we will send one of our deputies.
Okay, that's awesome. We have another question here from Eshan. Can we invite a sheriff's representative to come up to Skyline in plain clothes? Oops, just moves the screen on me. In plain clothes and observe the general mayhem that occurs on the weekend. Anytime there's a police car or uniformed officer, the offenders instantly begin behaving until the officer leaves. It will make the scope of the problem very obvious. So basically, is there a plainclothes sheriff we could send up to? Probably when they say open space, I guess they're.
I mean, we can recognize. I mean, what I recognize is when you live in an area where this type of activity is occurring, you're very highly sensitized to it. So I haven't gone up in a non-marked capacity specifically to look for that. But, I've been a resident of this county for, I don't know, over 20 years, maybe close to 30. And I've been up in the area, and, it's not as if though every car is, violating the law, all the time, right? It's just, it really is a matter of timing. But we believe you, and we recognize, we agree that there's an issue there. And, again, I want to reiterate that traffic is the CHP's primary responsibility. But the sheriff's office considers you our residents, and we will not leave you alone in regards to that issue. We will go up there and respond and address issues as they are reported to us.
Holly, if I can just add, the most important, I think, way to do this is to continue the communication. And I think, I'd be more than happy, to have a representative from the Bureau or myself continue to join your meetings. So, you have someone that will listen and that is going to address the issues at hand. So it just opens up the lines of communication so we can hear that directly. So.
And Christina, could I just add that, would it be possible to have one of our traffic enforcement officers attend the meetings as well, because I think it's valuable for them to hear the concerns of our residents.
Absolutely. I will have Deputy Murphy or attend the meetings. He's very familiar with the issues because he's up there conducting traffic enforcement. And he understands. I think he's spoken to many residents where they voiced their concerns to him. So he has an understanding of the issues, but I'd be more than happy to have him come and listen and have continue for him to be a resource as well.
So if we have time for one or two more questions, we have a few here. We have says Kings Mountain Road has become increasingly dangerous as drivers cross over the center line on blind curves. Two questions. One, what can be done for prevention signage? And two, is it at all useful to report license plates of drivers we witness driving like this? Are reports with license plate numbers not likely to result in action?
So in regards to the prevention or signage, I'll ask Captain Corpus to, speak to Public Works and see what can we put on blind curves. I seem to recall that there is some signage on 35 already, but I'll ask her to have somebody do a site review and speak to Public Works and see what can be done. As I mentioned earlier, because it is such a narrow roadway, I'm not sure how feasible it is to put up signs. And then in regards to whether it's useful to report license plates of drivers, I think it is. I think if you call us and we have a license plate and a description of the vehicle, sometimes, vehicles, they don't just speed in one specific area, they speed everywhere, right? So it alerts my deputies to be aware of the vehicle that has been speeding, and we'll certainly pull them over and issue them a citation. What we're not able to do legally is issue them a citation because somebody saw them speeding. We have to see them speeding or capture them on our utilizing our radar devices.
I think the original question was in reference to Kings Mountain Road also.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Which is really narrow.
Yeah, so that just makes it, as you know, that road has some special problems with it. It's narrow. You have bicycles going up and down it. You have vehicles going up and down, and it's very difficult for vehicles to allow the cyclists to have the 3 feet mandated by law. So it just, and I don't know where signs would go there, but that roadway poses a number of significant challenges for motorists and cyclists.
Yeah, no, I know. So again, with the whole, if someone took a picture of someone's license plate and reported it, would that also help?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'd have a record of it, and if somebody is speeding, we can certainly, try to find them. Many times we'll have deputies in the area that can look for that vehicle, and if it's a constant problem, we'll make contact with that motorist and let them know that we've received a complaint.
Okay. That would be helpful because that happens on a regular basis on that road.
Holly, if I can just add that we also have used our signboards at the top and at the bottom of Kings Mountain. So that road is very narrow, and it's one of those substandard roads that I was referencing earlier. So it's definitely challenging. So when we do patrol, we have to do roving patrol because it's really unsafe for really to kind of, there's really no room for us to be on the side of the road. And then we're actually making it more dangerous for people when they're coming around a blind curve. So we have been using the signboards just to remind people of the sharp turns and then sharing the roadway with others.
No, thank you. We're all trying, and we, as a community, we just want to understand what else we can do. And so I think that was the basis of that question. You want to take one more question here? There's actually two more. So there's one dealing with car clubs. And then I have another one here dealing with where do you stand on the issues of implicit bias on your team? Of course, we've seen how unexamined bias has played on our national stage to devastating outcomes, and some of us know of local incidents that are concerning. So I guess the anonymous attendee would like to know, how are you coming to terms with the reality that we all have blind spots when it comes to how we view race? What practices are you putting into place to help your team deepen their experiences in confronting this bias in themselves and each other?
Well, thank you. I think that's a very thoughtful question. How am I coming to terms with it? I think I've always been aware of it. As a person of color, I reckon, you deal with race as at a very young age, and it's something that certainly in law enforcement, we must address those perceptions of bias on the part of the actions that we take because of the powers that we have. And we have organizationally embarked on a training program. We've trained almost everybody on implicit bias. Implicit bias, as the questioner asked, and for the rest of you, or as the questioner mentioned, are those biases that exist in every single one of us. And the importance of us being aware of those biases as we interact with others and as we take enforcement action. I'm very proud of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office. We provide exceptional public safety services to all of the areas that we cover, but I also recognize we're not perfect, and it is important to continuously talk about these difficult issues to ensure that as we enforce the laws, whether they be the criminal laws or the vehicular laws, that we apply that enforcement in a very equal manner.
Thank you. That's a very thoughtful answer.
You're welcome.
You want one more question, or you guys need to go?
I'm going to give you one more question.
Okay, thank you. There are constantly car clubs coming up to the mountain. And they typically come up 92 and go across 35 to 84. Seems like Alice's is the destination spot, but it's the whole travel from 92 across 35 that most of us are challenged with. I know I've ridden my horse and all of a sudden there's 50 Porsches going by at high speeds or whatever loud car it is. So is there anything we can do about that?
Well, is there anything we can do about that? Well, I don't know what you mean by what can we do about that, because they're allowed to go up there, right? And what we do, and this is not a new issue, I've heard about it for years. Unfortunately, there are clubs that will publicize a ride up Skyline, and it's a variety of different car clubs. It is groups of motorcycles. It is it's a problem, and I think we're aware of it. We'll continue to monitor it. we don't have the ability to tell people that they can't go there, but we do have the ability to work with our partners at CHP and ensure that they abide by the traffic laws. And as you've seen, we issue a lot of citations out there. California Highway Patrol does as well. And I will just commit to ensuring that we issue many citations or more citations in an effort to try to address this problem.
Thank you.
Christina, anything you want to add to that?
Yes, sir. We've also reached out to some of the car clubs and the motorcycle clubs just to have conversation, have that open dialogue, to remind them of the windy roads, remind them of, not only, as you said, do we have other vehicles and cyclists and motorcycles, but we also have equestrians, and we are very sensitive to, everyone wanting to be outdoors right now because of the pandemic. And so we have been working and opening those lines of communication with the car clubs just to really let them know, because they may not be aware of, everything that what the makeup of the community is. And it's really important for us to communicate that and to keep the residents safe, but also keep the visitors safe. So they have been open to the dialogue, and we're going to continue working with them. And when we do have the car clubs, going up to Alice's, our deputies will go up there and as they're doing enforcement and have conversations with them just to remind them, especially if they're going down 84 and the sharp turns, and just reminding them of the roadway and of the blind spots and such. So we have made that effort.
Thank you.
Ollie, can I address one final thing?
Sure, that'd be great.
I see where someone asked about response times, and that was a result of a question where someone said that it was an anonymous attendee that said that, they've called us sometimes, could be a crime of violence, and that, it's taken us hours to get there. Very difficult for me to address, anonymous issues with no specifics. And, but there was a follow-up question that I thought was thoughtful, and that was, could Captain Corpus develop a follow-up report on response times? And I think we can certainly do that. In looking at the reports of crime that Captain Corpus was kind enough to develop for us, Kings Mountain area is very, very safe as it relates to crime, and especially violent crime. While I recognize we had some really, violent crimes that occurred last year, and then the person who was dropped off on 35. When I look at the crime statistics, you live in a very safe area, and as the sheriff, I'll commit to keeping it that way. And I left my email, as somebody asked for it, and my phone number, as well as Captain Corpus's. And I encourage you to call me anytime with any question or concern, and I commit to getting back to you and trying to address that issue.
Well, thank you very much, Sheriff.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. Any other closing statements here? I want to be mindful. We've already got 5 extra minutes from you guys. I appreciate that.
That was my fault, but I just want to say thank you so much. You have an outstanding community. I know how hard you work on your art fair, supporting your fire brigade, and we can't, law enforcement can't do it by ourselves. The sheriff's office needs committed residents like yourselves, and I thank you for the invitation, for having Captain Corpus and I here. And I also thank you for taking time out of your busy evenings to spend this time with us. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. that. So this session is recorded. If anybody, Marlene, will you be sending out the link, or Amber?
Yes, it will be sent out. Probably the technology of Amber and our Jen will help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again. And then I'll touch base with you as far as who you want. I can let them know when our meetings are, and they probably don't need to come to every meeting, or just maybe for a small portion of our meetings. We're
Good.
actually looking at, as an organization, putting together a subcommittee of us to work on community issues, which should probably be the better one for the sheriff or whoever's going to be attending to sit in on.
Great. And thank you, Holly, for contacting me and inviting me.
Well, thank you.
Holly, I can send you a follow-up email with all that information.
Okay, that'd be awesome. And I will make sure we get it distributed.
And Holly, thank you for moderating and helping us have another successful KMA speaker night.
Pleasure.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
I already did it. Bye.
Hey, Marlene, if we were going to do that follow-up business, maybe we should pop into another Zoom room so it's just on a separate, not webinar. Sound good?
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask if we should stop the recording.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, I was afraid. Okay, are you doing that?
Yes. Okay.
And we still have 5 people out there, so I hope you all were able to receive what you were looking for, and if not, you have contact information to follow up or reach out to us.
Sounds good.